first news we got was that one of our boats had hit something here and it was aground. We followed up. The NSRI, that's the local equivalent of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, mobilised extremely quickly and using one of our life rafts managed to get all the crew off safe and sound without any injuries. And I must give full credit to them. They did a very professional job and very quickly. By the time we were down at their station, the crew were on their way back in. So that was very quick and very professional, frankly. So that was our first issue, to get the crew off safe and sound. That was achieved. Then at daylight we came down with a boat to see if we could pull her off. Well, clearly it was difficult because she's right in amongst the kelp and on the rocks. And we'd have needed an 800-yard towing cable, or we didn't have one available. And while we were considering that and seeing how close we could get with a tug, I think at that point she probably got hold because she began to behave differently. Well, still resolvable. Problem was getting to her. We got a smaller boat down and we got in close and swam to her, and it was quite clear the water was rushing in and out from outside. I mean, you couldn't go down below, it was far too dangerous at that stage at high water. So we, that was darkness by then, went back and came back the next morning, and during the night she'd blown about 350 yards from where we'd left her onto the beach. Nothing you could have done to stop that. During the course of that, looking at what's drifted ashore, quite a lot of the hull had been ripped away. And we don't know how much because it's covered in sand. That's something we've yet got to find. But that appears to be, I mean, she's a solid boat. The damage is to the hull. Now it's a question of what we can do about that, and we don't know yet. We've got to talk to the surveyors and everyone else. So at present I don't know the answer. But it did enable us, because the boat was now ashore, it did mean we could say to the crew, who we put up in hotels and things to look after them, you can come down, we can get your kit off. So they all came down yesterday afternoon and we were able to do a chain and find their clothing and stuff. I'm afraid it was all wet, but at least they got it. And nothing a laundry couldn't put right on that one. So they all came down and we got all the personal equipment out of her for the cruise. Some had disappeared, clearly floated out of the boat, but most people got most of their equipment back out of her. And that's really where we are now, where here she lies, a very, very sorry sight. I mean, it's always tragic when you see a really lovely boat up on a beach like this. Obviously, the first issue is to get the oil out of her. She's got 1,100 litres of diesel in her. Well, you don't want to pollute this beach. So we've got Subtech in, and as I stand here now, they've emptied 3 of the tanks, and they're about to dig through the sand to get to the 4th one. They're bringing their pump down at the moment. And looking at the way they operate, they'll get it out. They seem very professional to me, know what they're doing. So that will remove the risk of pollution. We then get down to the situation of what do we do with her? Can we refloat her? How do we refloat her? Ultimately, it'll be up to underwriters to make that decision. But I think first, before we can do anything like that, we've got to assess exactly what would have to be done to refloat her. Could it be done? Is it possible? We don't know how big a patch we'd have to make, for example. They've got to dig down to find that out. Now we're in a game reserve and they're pretty sticky about letting us bring equipment. They won't even let us bring a 4x4 onto the beach. Well, to do the work we need heavy equipment, we need diggers. So I think there's going to be an issue there which has got to be resolved. And that will have some say on what we can do.